So my roommate is a person with whom I have a lot of these types of discussions with.
Nice.
And over the past year and a half or whatever, I've been diving deeply into the intellectualism realm of stuff like this, of
Hmm.
non-duality and other sort of philosophy branches. And he is, on the other hand, has not, and seems to continue to favor or be attached to a sort of depressed angle of self-worth and just general outlook.
Hmm.
And even though now I think maybe he's coming out of maybe being continuously attached to that, um, it's been very present in our previous discussions that he was suffering very greatly from
Hmm.
all of that.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. I think he's doing better now, but it what's funny is that the last conversation that we had, which was no more than a few days ago, um, was sort of a almost a confrontation between him and I about um, not only like little petty roommate things, but it was also sort of me getting a little fed up with his depressed attachment mode,
Hmm.
if I can call it that, and eventually us having almost a heated debate about these forms of thinking, because he was sort of like he was almost angry that I feel like he was almost angry that I had the ability to sort of see uh, the existence or the almost the meaninglessness of life and not be depressed about it, or not, or in fact be comfortable with it on certain levels, or at least say that I am.
May I just say something?
Yeah.
I would suggest that your roommate is not depressed because of that realization. I would say that that is a tendency in that body mind mechanism if it is depression. Like, so if you are seeing things accurately and he is experiencing depression, like, we can never be positive that we actually see the other accurately because it could also be our projection. But if you aren't projecting onto him and you are listening and hearing him in a more accurate way, then I would say that it's not those thoughts that have given him, it's not those ideas that have given him depression. That is a pattern that will have been playing, a tendency that will already be there in his body mind mechanism. And then when he hears that, it's just a confirmation of that. So I don't think it's that they gave him that tendency in any way. So when we hear this message, if we have a tendency more to depression, and normally moods fluctuate, but in some people, if there's more of a tendency towards depression and despair, they'll hear that and it will just add to the depression and the despair, rather than it being about a relationship or it being about their job or it being about their family. It will then get projected onto that. So, or it might unleash like a bit of a deeper feeling in them. So before it was like, my job is like pointless. Like now that might be a bit of a deeper feeling where life is meaningless, and that might be more what they feel at the root, is that their life is meaningless. If you tend to have more of an upbeat tendency, then you will hear life is meaningless, and then that will maybe be more of an upbeat thing. It's like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's I think I understand what you're saying. Uh, I it seems like I believe or feel like I've tried to do that with him, engage in the upbeat mode of that kind of response.
Yeah, it won't
Um,
work.
it won't, I mean, even, you can always lead a horse to water, but you can't exactly force them to think of perspective.
Yeah, but I wouldn't assume that you can lead them to water. I'm not saying that you are doing something wrong, but your job is just to, as a friend, just to be yourself and to relate to them and how you feel. It's not to lead them to water. That's the job of a teacher or a psychologist. And I say that with love, and I say that having made that mistake many times myself, like believing that I can lead someone to water if only they would just listen to me. But that's not your job. When you're in an intimate relationship, your job is, I'm not saying you're intimate like sexually or romantically, I mean intimate as in friendship as well. Your job is to be vulnerable and open about how you feel and deal with yourself. And their job is to be open and vulnerable to how they feel and deal with themselves. And it's not your job to teach them how to do that. If they don't do that, that's still not your job to fix. When life calls them, they will go to someone that will teach them how to do that. It's a
Yeah.
painful lesson to learn, because what we want to do is we want to teach everyone to be at where we are in our life, so then we can relate to them in an easier manner, but what we think is an easier manner. But it's just to keep being open and honest to yourself. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect at that. I can want to go in and quickly show somebody where they're deluded, but especially because I do this all the time. Like, I speak to people and I speak in one-to-one sessions. My intimate relationships, there can be a wanting to show them where they're getting into illusion, especially when you can see it really clearly. But it is not my business. I got to put my nose back on my face and get it out of theirs.
Yeah.
I presume that you're young, John, yeah?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Yeah. That's a great time to learn this.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have many, many more relationships in your life. And it will be exhausting, if you get to 45 and all your relationships are about you looking after or you helping people. That's not what you want. Or teaching people. That's a business. That's you could do that as a business, or you could do that as your career. What you want in friendships is just to be open and honest with people about how you feel and how you see things. Just about you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then you just have
And
to
it's
deal with your feelings of when you see someone stuck or when you see someone depressed and how that makes you feel. And you're also allowed to interact with people that aren't like that. Do you feel worthy to interact with people that aren't like that? If you're not in a helping role. And trust me, I'm a helper, so I know this very well. Not like a typical helper, but I have got these helper qualities. I'm not like an extreme helper, but there is these tendencies or these qualities inside me to be a helper in a format.
Yeah, something that I've noticed about myself th- is uh, is that intense helper, or I had another sort of way of saying that exact same thing, but the mm, the do whatever needs to be done, putting others first sort of type of role.
That will be infant training. That will come from pre-verbal training. It will be so deep in the responses in your body. And so what on the human level you have to do is just being conscious when you feel that energy coming up in you, and you just put it out there, like you just say it. I can feel my helper energy coming up. I can feel these insecurities coming up. And that's just so beautiful and so whole as a human to be able to do that. It's incredibly vulnerable. So, and it's not something that you want to try and get rid of. That's not the goal of it. The goal of it is just to be conscious of when it's acting out. So it's not living a life where it's unconscious and then you exhaust yourself by the time you're 45. Just seeing it appearing. And just feeling, so when you're with someone that's depressed and has negative mindset, like feeling that frustration. And then feeling that frustration. And I'm sure that led to the heated conversation. Like, and it's also compassion as well, like feeling compassion for them. But you can't undo that. That will also most probably be pre-verbal in them as well. They have to do that themselves. And then you could question, like, who is themselves? But we're talking on the human level now. And then it's in those moments, so in that frustration with him, it's like feeling that on the human level, like being really raw and honest to that, but also deeply knowing who you truly are, that is absolutely free in that moment. Like really staying present, but it's not anybody staying present, but this presence coming forward of the I am and the empty looking, while the body is simultaneously feeling this frustration and this stuckness. It's kind of like you're feeling that frustration and stuckness, and that's also what they're feeling, ironically. So you feel it at them, and then they're feeling it about themselves.
Yeah, that's really good, Lisa.
And I'm allowed to be the helper in this situation because that's my paid job. You have to go out and get a paid job like this, but he can't be one of your clients then.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, John. Thank you for
odd
calling in and being so open about that.
Yeah. Thanks for having this platform, Lisa. You're great. Love your talks.
Oh, nice. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Bye.